Well, for more on this, John Kavulich joins us live from New York. He's a senior researcher with Issue Insight. Welcome to the News Hour. John, how much further do you think we are after the Alaska summit and the Oval Office meeting, given that we're hearing the Kremlin is playing down the Zelenskyy talks, and also Donald Trump is warning that Putin may not want to make a deal at all?
There's often, after these meetings, not only talking past one another, but sometimes speaking different languages. And in this particular case, what we're seeing again are both of those, and then plus that anomaly, which is the closer people believe they are, the further away they are. And that is basically because when it's talking about macro issues, just and lasting peace, bilaterals, trilaterals, NATO Article 5 like, it's easy for that. It's easy for the politicians. But then you get to the micro issues. How do you actually implement some of this? And then you start to see ruptures among the groups that are trying to do what they say they want to do.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point. When you look at the map, when you look at the battlefield, when you hear all the conversations we've been having about security guarantees, what they even mean. And on that point, to get to those micro issues, how united do you think Europe is on these micro issues?
They're not. And you see that you have 27 members of the European Union, 32 members of NATO, some of them overlap. And you then have approximately 30 members of the coalition of the willing, of which, according to Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, approximately 10 of those are willing to have, quote, boots on the ground in Ukraine. And even then, there's a question of how many, who's going to pay for them, how long are they going to be there, how close to whatever the front line or line of demarcation are they going to be. And then you get into the bigger issues, the money issues with respect to European Union, NATO looking toward Ukraine. And so, there's great. Everyone likes to have those great oratorical moments. But when it actually comes to doing something, Europe has really, really struggled, even though Donald Trump has push them in directions that you would generally think would merge their internal interests. But I'll use one example that you have in the UK. Keir Starmer's facing, according to his budget folks, a $40 billion budget deficit over the next 5 years. He's promised $3 billion a year to Ukraine, so that's $15 billion out of the $40 billion. How is he going to manage that? Spain doesn't want to spend 5%. Italy isn't spending 2%, and they want to add a $15 billion bridge from Sicily to their accounting. So you just have all of this going on, and it makes it tough for a resolution and then a clean direction.
Absolutely. When you say that, I mean, you look at the numbers and you look at the budgets, the challenges that these countries face domestically, it really brings to light what you say about the macro issues and those micro issues. And just more broadly, with President Putin, what incentive does he really have to meet Zelenskyy in person?
His incentive is based upon issues not related to Ukraine, meaning his bilateral relationship, one with Donald Trump, the person, two with the United States government, three with the United States Congress, and then four with the European Union, five, and it's a distant five, with NATO. So he's got a lot of constituencies that he's balancing, but in the end, he's looking at the map. And that's what President Trump has looked at for the past, now we're into the fourth year. And the map, the real estate, using a President Trump term, the real estate hasn't much changed. And as unfair as that is, the war doesn't end or doesn't freeze because either Ukraine or Russia get what they want. It's who's willing to accept more of what they don't want. That's how there's a freeze or there's a peace treaty or there's an end. So for President Putin, going through the motions of meeting with President Zelenskyy, whether that's, I think that the discussions about Hungary and Switzerland just don't make any sense. Turkey still makes most sense for that, or it's a trilateral. I tend to think the trilateral might come before the bilateral. So President Putin is looking at all that, and he knows that he can keep the ball in motion and continue to gain a little bit more territory. His goal is all of Luhansk, all of Donetsk, and then he basically can call it a day. But that's been his revamped goal since the middle of 2022.
John, fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your thoughts and time. John Kavulich speaking to us there from New York.